The wedding guests gasped as Amara lifted the veil from her groom's face. There, in the grand ballroom of Lagos's most prestigious hotel, sat the man they all knew as Tunde the beggar, the crippled man who sat outside the market every day with his bowl and crutches. But something was different now. His eyes gleamed with an authority that made grown men step back. His voice, when he spoke, commanded the room like thunder. And the doctors surrounding him weren't helping him walk. They were removing a carefully crafted leg brace that had never been needed at all. "You thought you were cursing your stepdaughter," Tunde said, looking directly at Amara's stepmother, whose face had gone white as chalk. "Instead, you gave her the greatest gift of her life." The room erupted in chaos. If powerful stories like this move you, please hit subscribe. And tell us where you're watching from. I love seeing our global family in the comments. All right, back to how this nightmare began. 6 months earlier, in the bustling city of Ibadan, 18-year-old Amara Okonkwo woke before dawn as she did every morning. She moved quietly through the small boys' quarters behind the main house, careful not to wake her younger brother, Chidi. Her father had died 2 years ago, leaving everything to his second wife, Ngozi. Since then, Amara's life had become a series of endless chores and silent endurance. "Amara, where is my breakfast?" Ngozi's voice cut through the morning air like a machete. Amara hurried to the main house, her wrapper tied tightly around her slim waist. She was a beautiful girl with kind eyes and skin the color of polished mahogany. But she kept her head down these days, trying to be invisible. In the kitchen, her stepmother stood with arms crossed, her 2 daughters, Adana and Kioma, smirking beside her. "I'm sorry, Ma. I'm preparing it now," Amara said softly. "Sorry? Sorry?" Ngozi's voice rose. "Your father spoiled you, filling your head with dreams of university. Look at you now, nothing but a servant in your own home." Amara's heart ached. She had been accepted to the University of Lagos to study medicine. Her father had been so proud. But after he died, Ngozi had burned her acceptance letter and taken the school fees for herself. "Tomorrow is the market day," Ngozi said, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "I have found someone interested in marrying you." Amara's head snapped up. "Marriage? But Ma, I'm only 18. "Silence. You should be grateful anyone wants you. You have no dowry, no prospects. This man has agreed to take you without asking for anything." Adana giggled. "Tell her who it is, mother." Ngozi's smile widened. "Tunde, the beggar who sits outside the main market. He may be crippled, but at least you'll be out of my house." The room seemed to spin around Amara. She knew Tunde by sight. Everyone did. He sat in the same spot every day, his twisted legs stretched before him, his crutches leaning against the wall. People dropped coins in his bowl out of pity. "Please, Ma," Amara whispered. "Please don't do this. It's already arranged. You marry him next month, or you and that brother of yours will be on the street. The choice is yours." That night, Amara sat with 7-year-old Chidi under the mango tree in the backyard. He was drawing pictures in the dirt with a stick, humming a song their father used to sing. How could she abandon him? Without her, Ngozi would surely send him away. Her father's last words echoed in her memory. "Take care of your brother. You're all he has." Over the next week, Amara found herself watching Tunde at the market. She went there daily now, buying vegetables for the house, but really studying the man who would become her husband. He was perhaps 25 or 26, with intelligent eyes and a quiet dignity despite his circumstances. His clothes were clean but worn. He never begged aggressively like some others. He simply sat with his bowl, thanking those who gave, never cursing those who passed by. One day, their eyes met. "You're Amara," he said. It wasn't a question. She nodded, surprised. "How did you know?" "Your stepmother came to see me. She offered me money to marry you." He paused, studying her face. "But I told her I wanted to meet you first." "Why would you agree to this at all?" Tunde smiled, and for a moment something flickered in his eyes, something that looked like sadness and wisdom mixed together. "Everyone has their reasons for the choices they make." What are yours? Amara found herself telling him about Chidi, about her father's death, about her lost dreams. She had meant to say just a few words, but something about Tunde's steady gaze made her feel safe. When she finished, he nodded slowly. I understand the weight of protecting someone you love. Perhaps we are not so different, you and I. What do you mean? But Tunde just shook his head. Come back tomorrow, let us talk again. And so it became their routine. Every day, Amara would stop by Tunde's spot. They talked about everything, stories, dreams, the world beyond Ibadan. Tunde spoke like an educated man, with a vocabulary that surprised her. When she mentioned this, he smiled mysteriously. Books have been my companions for many years, was all he said. 3 weeks before the wedding, something strange happened. Amara arrived at Tunde's usual spot to find him gone. In his place sat an old woman selling oranges. Excuse me, Ma. Where is Tunde? Amara asked. The old woman squinted at her. The crippled boy? Oh, some men in a fine car came for him this morning. Looked like trouble to me. They carried him away. Amara's heart raced. Had something happened to him? She spent the whole day distracted, worry gnawing at her chest. To her surprise, she realized she had grown to care for Tunde. He might be poor and disabled, but he was kind. He listened. He made her laugh. The next day, Tunde was back in his usual spot, but he looked different. There was a tension in his shoulders, a shadow across his face. Are you all right? Amara asked. I heard men came for you yesterday. Tunde's jaw tightened. Family matters. Nothing you need to worry about. But Amara noticed something else. An expensive-looking watch peeked out from beneath his worn sleeve. When she stared at it, Tunde quickly covered it. Tunde, who are you really? She asked quietly. He looked at her for a long moment. I'm exactly who you see. A man trying to survive in this world, just like you. The wedding day arrived faster than Amara wished. Ngozi had arranged everything at a small registry office, inviting no guests except her own daughters and a few neighbors to witness Amara's shameful marriage. Amara wore a simple white dress that had belonged to her mother. As she stood before the registrar, Tunde beside her on his crutches, she made a silent promise to herself. She would be a good wife. She would make the best of this situation. I do, she said when the time came. I do, Tunde replied, his voice stronger than she'd ever heard it. And just like that, Amara became Mrs. Tunde Adeyemi. Tunde's home was not what Amara expected. It was a modest but clean apartment in a quiet neighborhood, not the shack she had imagined. How can you afford this? She asked, looking around at the simple but comfortable furniture. Tunde settled into a chair, laying his crutches aside. I have some savings, and I do work, you know. Not everything is as it appears. Over the next few days, Amara discovered more peculiarities. Tunde had a computer, an expensive one. He spent hours on it each day, typing rapidly, speaking on phone calls in English so polished it sounded like he'd studied abroad. When she asked about it, he said he did consulting work online. He also disappeared every Tuesday and Thursday evening, returning late with the same mysterious look on his face. Where do you go? Amara finally asked. To visit someone who needs me, was all he said. Despite these mysteries, Amara found herself settling into married life. Tunde was respectful, even gentle. He insisted she take the bedroom while he slept on the couch. He asked her about her dreams and actually listened to the answers. You still want to study medicine? He asked one evening. It doesn't matter now, Amara said, trying to keep the bitterness from her voice. It matters, Tunde said firmly. Dreams always matter. 1 month after the wedding, everything changed. Amara returned from the market to find the apartment filled with men in expensive suits. They stopped talking when she entered, all eyes turning to her. Who are you? One of them demanded. I live here. I'm Tunde's wife, Amara said, confused and frightened. The men exchanged glances. One of them, an older gentleman with gray at his temples, stepped forward. My name is Chief Balogan. I'm Tunde's uncle. We need to speak with you. Tunde wheeled himself into the room, and Amara noticed for the first time that his wheelchair was top of the line, electric. Nothing like the broken crutches he used at the market. Amara, Tunde said quietly, I think it's time you knew the truth. What Chief Balogan told her seemed impossible. Tunde was not a beggar. He was Babatunde Adeyemi, heir to Adeyemi Industries, one of the largest manufacturing companies in West Africa. His father had died a year ago, leaving Tunde a billion-naira empire. But there was a condition in the will. My brother believed Tunde was too sheltered, Chief Balogan explained. He made a strange demand. Before Tunde could claim his inheritance, he had to live as a common man for 1 year. He had to survive on his own, with no help from the family, no access to his wealth. Only then would he understand the value of money and the struggles of ordinary people. The leg? Amara whispered, looking at Tunde. A brace, a disguise, Tunde admitted, shame coloring his voice. I was in an accident as a child that left me with a slight limp. I exaggerated it. I wanted to see what life was really like for those with disabilities, for those without privilege. You lied to me, Amara said, her voice breaking. Yes, Tunde said simply. I did. But your year is up now, Chief Balogan interrupted. The board of directors is demanding that you return and take your position as CEO. We've kept your father's company running, but it needs its rightful leader. Tunde looked at Amara. There's more. My engagement to marry someone from a prominent family was also arranged before my father died. My uncle and the board believe I should honor that commitment. The room spun. Amara felt like she couldn't breathe. So what am I? She finally asked. Just part of your experiment? A temporary wife until you return to your real life? No, Tunde said forcefully, trying to move toward her. Amara, please. But she was already running out the door. Amara returned to her stepmother's house, tears streaming down her face. But when she arrived, she found Ngozi packing her belongings into boxes. What are you doing? Amara demanded. Ngozi's face was ugly with rage. Your husband's family came here today. They told me everything. You married a billionaire, and you didn't even have the decency to tell me. I didn't know. Lies. You schemed to trap him, to humiliate me. Well, I won't have it. You and your brother are no longer welcome here. Little Chidi ran out from the house, tears on his face. Sister, she said we have to leave. Amara gathered her brother in her arms. Fine. She would leave. She had nothing but her pride anyway. They spent that night in a cheap hotel, using the little money Amara had saved from market shopping. Chidi fell asleep quickly, exhausted from crying, but Amara lay awake, her mind churning. Tunde had lied to her. Their entire relationship was built on deception, but hadn't he also been the only person in months who treated her with kindness? Who listened to her dreams? Who saw her as more than just a servant or a burden? In the morning, there was a knock at the door. Chief Balogan stood outside, looking uncomfortable. Mrs. Adeyemi, he began. Don't call me that, Amara said coldly. Very well. Miss Okonkwo, I've come to make you an offer. The family is prepared to compensate you handsomely for an annulment. Name your price, education, a house, money for your brother's future, whatever you want. In return, you quietly end this marriage and allow Tunde to fulfill his obligations. Amara looked at the old man. A month ago she would have had nothing. Now she was being offered everything. I need time to think, she said. You have 24 hours. After that, we'll be forced to take legal action. After he left, Amara sat with Chidi, thinking hard. What did she really want? That's when she remembered something Tunde had told her during one of their market conversations. The measure of a person isn't in what they have, he'd said. It's in what they do when everything is taken away. She made her decision. Amara found Tunde at the market, sitting in his old spot with his crutches and his bowl. He looked up in surprise when she appeared. Your uncle said I had 24 hours to decide, she said, sitting down beside him. Amara, I'm sorry. For everything, I should have told you the truth. Yes, you should have, but I understand why you didn't. She paused. Tell me something honest now. Did you marry me as part of your experiment? to see what life was like for ordinary people. Tunde was quiet for a long moment. At first, maybe that was part of it. Your stepmother's offer seemed like another test of character, hers and mine. But then I got to know you, your strength, your sacrifice for your brother, the way you never complained, even though life had been cruel to you. Amara, somewhere along the way, this stopped being an experiment and became real. Real enough to give up your empire? Amara challenged. Because that's what your uncle said. You can't be CEO and stay married to me. Your board won't accept it. Your family won't accept it. Then I won't be CEO. Amara stared at him. You can't mean that. Tunde took her hands in his. My father's will had one goal, to teach me what truly matters. I think I've finally learned that lesson. Money, power, status, they mean nothing without someone to share them with, someone real, someone who saw me at my lowest and showed me kindness anyway. But my responsibility is to be honest, to choose truth over convenience, to honor the woman who became my wife, knowing nothing about my wealth, asking nothing from me but respect. Tunde's voice grew stronger. I'm going to the board meeting tomorrow. I'm going to claim my position as CEO, and I'm going to introduce you as my wife, my true wife, and make it clear that anyone who wants me to lead this company must accept that. And if they refuse, then I walk away. We'll build something new together. Amara felt tears rolling down her cheeks. But these were different tears than before, tears of wonder, of hope. You'd give up everything for me? Not for you, Tunde corrected gently. For us, for truth, for the life we could build if we choose honesty over deception. The next day, the boardroom of Adeyemi Industries was packed. All the major shareholders had gathered, along with the executive team and Chief Balogun, and sitting in a wheelchair at the head of the table was Tunde, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. Beside him, in an elegant African print dress that Tunde had bought for her, sat Amara. Gentlemen, ladies, Tunde began, I'm here to claim my position as CEO of Adeyemi Industries, but before we proceed, there are some things you need to understand. He told them everything, about his year among the poor, about the lessons he'd learned, about the corruption and waste he'd witnessed in how the wealthy treated those beneath them. My father wanted me to understand the value of money, Tunde said, but what I learned was the value of people, of dignity, of character. He gestured to Amara. This is my wife. She married me thinking I was a disabled beggar with nothing to offer her but kindness. She chose sacrifice over comfort, loyalty over convenience. She is worth more than every naira in this company's accounts. Chief Balogun stood up. Baba Tunde, we respect your sentiments, but surely you understand that the CEO of a company like ours needs a different kind of wife, someone from our world, someone who understands business and society. Someone like you? Came a voice from the door. Everyone turned. A stunning woman in designer clothes stood at the entrance, the daughter of another wealthy family, the woman Tunde had been originally engaged to. Funmi, Tunde said, surprise in his voice. Funmi walked into the room, her heels clicking on the marble floor. She looked at Amara with an expression that was hard to read. I came to release you from our engagement, Tunde, she said clearly. When your uncle contacted me, I did some research into your wife. She turned to Amara. You scored the highest marks in your university entrance exams. You were accepted to study medicine. You gave up everything to protect your younger brother. Funmi looked back at the board. That's the kind of character this company needs at the top. Not me, with my society connections and empty resume. Her. The room erupted in murmurs. Funmi smiled at Amara. I think you and I might become friends, Mrs. Adeyemi. Lord knows this family needs more real people in it. Chief Balogun sank into his chair, defeated. One of the older board members stood up. Young Adeyemi, you've made your point. But how do we know this isn't just a romantic notion? How do we know your wife can handle the scrutiny that comes with being married to our CEO? Amara surprised everyone by standing up. You don't know, she said clearly. Just like I didn't know who Tunde really was when I married him. But that's life, isn't it? We make choices based on character, not certainty. My husband chose to honor his commitments instead of taking the easy path. I choose to stand beside him, not because of his money, but because of his integrity. She looked around the room. My stepmother thought she was cursing me by forcing me to marry a beggar. Instead, she gave me the greatest gift, a husband who values truth over comfort. If you can't accept that, then perhaps this company isn't as strong as you think it is. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, the younger board members began to applaud. The sound grew until most of the room was clapping. Chief Balogan sighed deeply, then smiled. A real smile, perhaps the first genuine one Amara had seen on his face. "Welcome to the family, Mrs. Adeyemi," he said. "I think you're going to keep us all honest." 6 months later, Amara stood in the grand ballroom of Lagos's most prestigious hotel, preparing for the wedding celebration that Tunde had insisted on giving her. "The registry office was legal," he'd said, "but you deserved better. You deserved a celebration." Now, as guests from all walks of life gathered, from market traders to business moguls, Amara reflected on how much had changed. She was enrolled in medical school, her fees paid not by Tunde's money, but by a scholarship she'd won on her own merit. Chidi lived with them, attending the best school in Lagos, thriving in ways that made her heart soar. Tunde had transformed Adeyemi Industries, implementing programs to support disabled workers and creating opportunities for talented young people from poor backgrounds. The company was more profitable than ever, but now it also had a conscience. And Ngozi? She'd tried to reconcile when she learned of Tunde's wealth, but Amara had simply told her, "You taught me that family is more than blood. It's about who stands by you when you have nothing." Now, as Tunde stood from his wheelchair, he'd stopped using the leg brace entirely and took Amara's hand for their first dance. She thought about the proverb her father used to say, "He who looks down on others will stumble." Ngozi had looked down on both of them and lost everything. But in doing so, she'd brought together two people who'd learned the same lesson, that true wealth isn't measured in money, but in the richness of character and the courage to choose truth over convenience. As they danced, Amara whispered to Tunde, "Do you ever miss it? Your year as a beggar?" Tunde smiled. "Every day. It taught me everything I needed to know about what matters, about who I wanted to be." "And who is that?" "A man worthy of the woman who saw past the disguise to the truth beneath." Later that night, as the celebration continued, Amara slipped away to call Chidi, who was at home with his nanny. "How was the party, sister?" he asked sleepily. "Perfect," she said. "And Chidi, when you grow up, remember this. Never judge people by what they appear to be. Judge them by who they choose to be when no one is watching. Like you and Brother Tunde? Exactly like that." As Amara returned to the celebration, she passed a mirror and stopped for a moment. The woman looking back at her was different from the scared girl who'd agreed to marry a beggar 6 months ago. She stood taller now, smiled more freely, carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd been tested and hadn't been found wanting. In trying to curse her, Ngozi had blessed her. In disguising himself as a beggar, Tunde had revealed his true wealth of character, and in choosing each other, they'd discovered something more valuable than any inheritance, a love built on truth, tested by adversity, and strengthened by the courage to choose integrity over convenience. Amara walked back into the ballroom, where her husband waited with a smile that was only for her. The beggar had become a king, but more importantly, they'd both learned that true royalty isn't worn on the head, it lives in the heart. And that was a crown no one could ever take away. True character is revealed not in times of comfort, but in moments of testing. Those who judge by appearances miss the deeper truth, while those who look for integrity find treasures beyond measure. The greatest gift is not wealth or status, but the courage to choose truth and honor, even when it costs us everything. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Thank you for watching till the end.